you might see back there, chosen for their legendary performance. Coming up here on the right-hand side of the shuttle, by the way, you'll see street racer Herbie Lovebug keeping an eye on those stunt cars across the way. As well as being a theme park, though, we are a working production center, and we feature sound stages, outdoor sets. We have state-of-the-art editing facilities and recording studios here, and just about everything else we need to produce TV shows, motion pictures, even radio broadcasts. And we've had quite a number of high-profile projects take place here throughout the years, including films like Instinct, starring Sir Anthony Hopkins, Cuba Gooding Jr., Marvin's Room with Robert De Niro, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Diane Keaton, Honey and Lou the Kid, starring Rick Moranis, and many others. TV projects include From the Earth to the Moon, that was a 13-part HBO miniseries produced here by Tom Hanks. An episode of the hit drama ER, and game shows like Wheel of Fortune and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, for both Regis Philbin and Meredith Vieira, live with Regis and Kelly. For 5 years, beginning in 1989, the studio was home to the Mickey Mouse Club. That was one of the very first projects ever done here, and it turned out to be the launching pad for some of the best-known names in music and television, even film today, including stars like Christina Aguilera, Justin Timberlake, J.C. Chazé, Vince St. Felicity, Terry Russell, Ryan Gosling, Britney Spears, all got their start here at the Mickey Mouse Club. On the right, we're circling around these two full-scale replicas of P-40 aircraft built for Touchstone's blockbuster hit Pearl Harbor, starring Ben Affleck and Josh Hartnett. These were taken from the mold of a real P-40 Warhawk, and they're produced in fiberglass over a steel frame. The propeller is made of wood, however. They were spun by hydraulic motors inside, as most of them were shot apart and blown up during the film's dramatic attack sequence. 16 were built on a soundstage to use the movie, and the rest you may remember seeing them were laying in the runways and sitting on the hangars and so on, all created inside a computer. We're going to duck inside here for just a bit, take a look at, I think, our most glamorous area, and that's our award-winning creative costuming department. For costuming, the process begins with designer sketches, and inside against the walls, you can see many examples of our designers' work. From there, our talented seamstresses and tailors take over. On the left side, in display cases, we're passing original costumes for movies like National Treasure Book of Secrets, starring Nicolas Cage, Camp Rock, with Joe Jonas, Step Into the Streets, just released on DVD and Blu-ray High Def last week. Dan in Real Life, starring Steve Carell, and Enchanted with Amy Adams and Patrick Dempsey. We have the world's largest working wardrobe here. We have a team of about 250 professionals. They can use up to 1.5 million yards of fabric every year to create up to 25,000 costumes. We'll pass one more display of costumes and props on the left-hand side. These are Disney's blockbuster hit Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, with costumes worn by Johnny Depp, Keira Knightley, and Charlie on Back. Next, we'll pass a couple of the equipment and supply storage areas. So over on the right-hand side, for example, you'll see lots and lots of tires. Some other auto body parts coming up. These are all here in support of our Extreme Stunt Show. Back to the left, we'll pass our graphics studio, and just beyond is our main scenic shop, where scenic artists, craftsmen build and maintain the sets that are used on our sound stages and out on location. And we can also use this shop to build props and sets for some of the shows and attractions right here at our 4 theme parks. And next, we're going to head a bit deeper into the Backlot. That's where studios build elaborate outdoor sets that are available for film and television production. When production teams travel to cities and towns to film on location, they have to deal with a lot of things they have very little control over sometimes. Things like the traffic, noise, crowds, of course, when they gather. So to get around these things, they often prefer to shoot on studio backlots like ours. On the left here, by the way, a couple more props here for the Pirates of the Caribbean series. If you saw Dead Man's Chest, you might remember those bone cages are passing. And that's going to lead us into an area that's known as Boneyard, actually. That's the name given to the area of studios where all the big props are stored after they're used in productions. Things like cars and planes, spaceships, and bone cages, I guess. Anything really you want to hang on to that might be used for another production or maybe for a sequel. Or pass, for example, a prop steamroller from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And a Venetian gondola used in a romantic comedy called Casanova that starred Heath Ledger and Sienna Miller. We have 2 prop airplanes coming up. The first larger one used for the exterior shots in Flight Plan, starring Jodie Foster. This airplane doesn't exist in real life, so all the exteriors were done with a model. And the smaller model here is of a plane known as the Jailbird. The Jailbird played a really important part in a movie called Con Air that starred Nicolas Cage and John Malkovich on the under 2 motorcycles from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, after which they spent a few years with us here on our own Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular. We have a production team on our backlot today, in fact, using some props in one of our boneyards. Right now we're approaching a large standing set on the right-hand side that's been used in a number of commercials and TV specials. It was used on the Oprah Winfrey Show, for example, a number of years ago. And it was used just last season to shoot a segment for an episode of Extreme Makeover Home Edition with Ty Pennington. And the Travel Channel's been here, among others. We've had a team here the last few days doing some special effects testing inside. And their activity has actually on occasion prevented us from going through it But it looks like we're going in this time. We're circling in. They must be on a break in between takes right now. So, all right, here we go. We're going to climb a little hill. We're going to cross a really bumpy bridge. So once again, be sure to remain seated. Please keep a firm grip on any loose items you might have, like your cameras, your cell phone, small children, that sort of thing. We call this episode a standing set, which simply means that it's built to stay here and it's used for different projects as they come along, as it has been. Standing sets can be really simple. They can be as simple as a doghouse. But they can also be very elaborate, like the set we're entering. This set's modeled after an actual canyon in Southern California. It took about 6 months to build it. That's a long time to build a set. But if you consider how long it takes Mother Nature to build a canyon, 6 months not that bad. Alright, I think we can go ahead and stop for a minute and you can take some pictures without bouncing around if you like. I'll tell you a bit more about the set. Just above our shuttle, we have a big platform area. It's a little hard to see from here, but that's where production teams can put up their cameras to shoot down into the set. You notice we have a tanker truck up here. That used to be one of our boneyards, and it was kind of tough to get that in here. There's no road over there, and a big ravine runs all the way through here, right beside the shuttle. So the truck had to be hoisted over the canyon walls and then lowered into place with a crane. Probably notice that the rocks are quite wet. There's water dripping from above. They have been working on a bunch of water effects here today. A little early, we're supposed to be a rain effect again in here. Oh, there we go. Thank you guys. It's over there, still upstairs. This is one of the advantages of working on a backlot. We had a high-powered rain spout outside the channel rain. And the console switch drain the water off. First cross gas is using very natural. Catastrophe Canyon, what do you think? Well, take a look behind the scenes next and we'll show how these catastrophes are created. Designed to look like natural rock formations. Small yellow pipes run throughout the set, supplying gas to the fires, explosions. All the large pipes carry the water for the flash flood. And the flood started when we opened the gates on 3 large holding tanks at the top. That sent about 70,000 gallons of water thundering toward our shuttle. And for a little more action, we shot some of the water toward you using air cannons. And the cannons we have here are so powerful, if you were to take one to New York City, put a basketball inside, you can launch that ball over the top of the Empire State Building. The earthquake was created with hydraulic shaker cables that are under the bridge. If we have those turned up all the way, we can throw a small car over the railing right into the ravine. At the end here, we have 3 pumps that are working really hard right now to recycle all that water back up in the storage tanks for the next shot. Disaster Canyon was created with the help of a Hollywood special effects team. What seemed to be an out-of-control disaster reports a very safe, computerized sequence of events, all being reset, putting that water all being recycled in about 3.5 minutes, and that is just about enough time to bring in the next shuttle. And that's what we're waiting for right now. We're hanging back for just a moment here, let the next shuttle inside. And we're short. While we have a second, reminder, we have 2 performances of Fantastic this year. And that's our nighttime spectacular, located at the Hollywood Hills Amphitheater near the Tower of Terror off Sunset Boulevard. Showtime's 9 o'clock to 10:30 tonight. If you plan to be here the entire evening, I would shoot for that second performance. If I were you, stay awake all evening long here. waiting about. You can get there probably half hour before showtime and still get a good